Right, hello everybody. This is the third video with regard to installing the evaporator in the Superlite coupe. And what you're looking at is the assembled evaporator box without the coil and without the blower motor. And actually, you can see that area that we patched from the last video. So the box is looking good. And essentially what we have to do is we have to attach this using these brackets to underneath the dash, and we want to line up this area with these holes, and then eventually we'll cut holes through the evaporator, and that's how it transfers the air to the plenum that I showed on the prior video. So anyway, I've taken some measurements. I won't bore you with how I came up with these measurements, but basically this dot and then this dot over here is going to center in this bracket and that bracket, and that's the way I'm going to mount it. I'm going to mount these facing in. Some people face them out, but I'm going to put a little bit of foam to seal this unit up, so having a 1/4 of an inch gap between the bracket and the box is fine. Plus, I like to have a little foam there to make sure it doesn't rattle. So I think this is a good approach, and I'm going to drill those holes and tap them and then install the front part of the evap system. I'm waiting for another set of these brackets. There's 2 more bolts on the blower motor, and then we'll drill the holes for the rear brackets, and then we'll be done with this part of the build. Okay, so thanks for following along. I'll show a little bit of detail. But I will tell you, the reason I'm showing all this detail, the evap system from Vintage Air, the configuration has changed, and a lot of the build threads and instructions really show you how to mount the older config. And I think the best way to mount this system is, rotating that heater core. So I wanted to provide a complete set of instructions for other people building Superlite coupes. Okay, so thanks for bearing with me for all this detail, but I hope it'll be helpful for others. All right, counterpunch those 2 little holes, and guess what? My favorite drill bit, the Christmas tree bits. All right, I'll drill the pilot holes, and then we're going to drill and tap these holes. We'll see how it comes out. There it is, a beautiful pilot hole. All right, very nice. Okay, I got these 2 holes drilled. Now we'll tap them and we'll see if it all lines up. Fingers crossed. Okay, I've got the holes tapped. Now I'm going to put the brackets in and let's see if it all lines up. Okay, so here you can see the brackets mounted, and you can see the reason why I did it facing in. Otherwise, I couldn't get it so close to that center frame rail, which is really where I want to put the evaporator in order to have it line up with all the holes on the top frame. And then we have the other one on this side. So let's tighten it all up and then we'll take a look at it. Okay, well that fits really good. Look how close I got it to that frame rail. I probably will bring it over a smidge, but you know what? It looks good in there. It fits great. Now I'll mark these holes where I have to cut them out, but I got it nicely centered. And the reason I tap these, if I have to remove this, I don't want to have to remove the dash, so I figured it would just be easier, and also this won't get in the way of the plenum. I'll use a little Loctite on it and it should hold fine. All right. Okay, so now we figured out that the front brackets are in the correct place. The second set of brackets just came in. They don't come with the kit. The kit only comes with 1 set of brackets, and I guess technically that's enough to hold the unit up, but there are 2 extra riv nuts in the plastic in the back, so I ordered another set of brackets, and I'd rather just have 4 brackets holding this thing up. The other thing is, it's not really logical, why I would have these facing in like this. I do I definitely want to be able to clear, that center beam here. But basically the way you mount it is, these brackets will be screwed into the chassis, and then, you can mount it low, and then once you get it in place, then you push it up and then you tighten these side nuts up. So, because these brackets are designed this way, having them facing in or facing out really doesn't matter. You can sort of get your hands in there and fiddle around with the setup. So right now I'm going to measure the holes for the back brackets. I'll drill the holes, I'll tap it, and then I'll get this unit secured in and see how it all fits. Okay, X marks the spot. These are not exactly symmetrical, just due to the shape of the box. So this one is inboard a little bit to the front, and this one is actually a little outboard relative to the front. So we'll drill these and hopefully it all lines up. All right, well, I try to put the evaporator with the blower motor in the car, and it turns out it just doesn't fit. So basically what I did was I tried to line up those 5 holes with this front cap for the vents, and you can see it was shifted back from the frame rail by about a ½ an inch. What I didn't realize was once I put the blower motor on, the corner of the blower motor hit into the side of the foot box. So my choice now is to drill 4 new holes in the foot box to attach the brackets that came with the kit, or I'll fab up some new brackets that shift the box forward. So I'm going to choose the latter. I don't want to drill extra holes in the foot box, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay, well, just when I thought I would buy the brackets and not have to make brackets and not have to fabricate anything, I'm back on the mill, which I have to say, I really enjoy using the mill. Making a bracket like this at this point now is like child's play compared to that alternator bracket, so I'll just finish these up, we'll bend them up, and then we'll use them to mount the evaporator. Okay, there's the new bracket. You can see this is the original. So I just moved that slot back about a ½ an inch. That should do the trick. I'll do the front ones, I'll mount it on the chassis, and then I'll do the rear ones, and we'll move on. All right. Mounting the evaporator, take 2 with the new brackets. They look good in aluminum. All right, hopefully they fit.
Okay. Well, look at that. We just made it. Put a little sound deadening, and it'll have just enough room. And
well, you can see the difference. I moved it up quite a bit. These marks showed the back of the hole where it was. And then here, you can see, it's right behind this lip, so it really can't go any further. All right, one builder, he actually chopped the front of this box and then drilled the holes in the top of the base and moved it up a bit, but I think I'm good, so I'm going to make the rear brackets, and at least we'll be good to go. I'll assemble the evaporator and we'll call it a wrap. Okay, we got all the brackets fabricated. One thing I want to show is I did a slight mod to the rear brackets. I ground out the bottom portion. That way I can mount this on the chassis and then swing the evaporator up and then tighten these bolts. It'll just make it a little easier to install, and I think it'll work out good. Okay, we've got the evaporator back in using all 4 brackets and the open-ended rear brackets, and I will tell you, the open-ended rear brackets made it fairly easy to position, and it is in there rock solid. I mean, this isn't going to shake, vibrate, or rattle, so I think this will work out good. The next thing we'll do is we're going to cut out the holes in the plastic vent area. Okay, well, so far so good. I used an 1¼ inch hole saw, and that gets right through the aluminum, right through the plastic, so that's nice and neat.
The issue here, as you can see, right there is a screw head, and there's one on the other side. I actually took the screw out. So this is one of the reasons why I had this whole thing shifted back, but I'm going to screw that front little vent compartment on the side, and I'll just cut these holes out. So these are the last two items I'll do, and then I'll start reassembling the evaporator box with the heater and AC cord. All right, I drilled those two side holes and they came out well. I'm happy with the way this came out. One thing to note is you can see my finger point through. I mean, this is right on the edge here and right on the edge here. So if you don't have that evaporator box exactly centered between the 6 holes, you're going to run out of real estate when you drill it up, so you got to watch out for that. Okay, so here is the reassembled evaporator ready to be installed in the Superlite coupe chassis. Let's see, a couple things to point out. You can see how close to the edges these outside holes were. We had a screw on each end, so I wound up putting 3 screws across the top to make this really strong. Let's see, a couple other things to point out. You can see the orientation now of all the AC and heat output fittings, and you can get a sense for how I siliconed the heater pipes and move that tar goo around to seal up the box. Also, this little tan line, that's some 1/4 inch foam I put in the blower motor just to make sure it's all sealed up. So this is ready to go back into the chassis. All right, well, we have the assembled evaporator back in the chassis. I basically have a little bit of room on the left side for the AC fittings. It comes very close to the center beam. And then I have room on the right side for the corner of the blower motor. I may shift this over a smidge to the right when I do the final assembly after I put the sound deadening and heat shielding in the car. But for now, I'll call this a wrap. Thanks for watching, and hopefully all this detail helps for fellow SLC builders.